Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial is a little quick video that I wanted to get out. Something I wanted to design that you guys can use for gifts, you can use for yourself, you can gift to people, whatever you want to do. These are basically little washcloths or wash rags or whatever you want to call them. You can use them to wash your body in the shower or you can use them to wash dishes. Also, you can use these as trivets. Warning, 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 do not take anything hot out of the oven with these. It's holy. You'll burn yourself. I have to say that because someone will do it. Anyway, so, super cute and easy. I haven't weaved in my ends on this one yet. This is the one we're making in the tutorial. It's a 4-weight cotton. They're real quick and easy. 8 rounds. This one I made out of size 3 crochet cotton. I think I like the bigger ones better. But anyway, let's talk about what you're going to need. So obviously you can tell 2 different colors of yarn. This one I used a solid and a variegated, and then this one just 2 solids. Same with this one, and then this one is a solid and a variegated, and then 2 solids. So 2 colors, whichever ones you want, doesn't matter. You are going to need roughly 120 yards of each color. So 120 yards or 109 meters. This is what I have left after a different pad. I was making my little prototype. All right, so then I used a 5mm crochet hook. You can use whatever hook you want to use. For this one, I did use a 2mm with that size 3 crochet cotton. And then get yourself a pair of scissors, a needle to weave in your end, stitch marker if you need to. The only time I did show you guys a good place to use a stitch marker is using at the beginning of our little clusters. We work a beginning cluster and sometimes it's a little tough to see, so you might need that to mark the beginning cluster. But other than that, that is all of your supplies. One little side note before we do get started, as you go, it will want to bowl up a little bit, but don't worry about that because we keep working rounds and it literally comes right out of it and lays flat. So when it starts to bowl up, I'm sorry, what I'm saying is a bowl, like a bowl you would eat soup out of, a bowl. It'll start to kind of do that, but don't worry about it, it'll come right out of it. And then also in the background, there is a construction crew on the other side of the street from me, and I try as hard as I can to talk over the backup beeper of their machinery. So you will hear that occasionally, and oh, for Pete's sake, wind chime. My wind chime. Eventually I stop the video and I've had enough of it and I go and just take it down and put it in the garage. So anyway, other than that, that is all the supplies you're going to need. So get everything together and let's get started. Okay, to get started, get a slip knot on our hook, and as always, make sure you have plenty of tail to weave in. And we're going to start with a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to come right back down to that very first chain and we're going to slip stitch in there to form a ring. Slip stitch and there. So get your fingertips in there and you can feel the ring that we just made. Well, if you see that little hole at the top right there, that's the chain we slip stitched into. So all you got to do is take that tail, piece of something on there, pull it, and it'll close up that chain that we slip stitched into. And then you can hold your tail around the ring so you can work around your tail. Alright, so now we're going to chain 1 and we're going to go right back into the ring around our tail with 16 double crochets. So yarn over, go in, there's 1, and if you need to mark that first double crochet, go ahead and mark that first one with a stitch marker. I'll go ahead and grab one and do it. Get in there mark that double. Don't get confused with this right there. That's your chain. And then that little bitty one right there, that's your slip stitch. All right, so there's your first double. So we need 16 total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, cat hair. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish mine off camera, and I will be right back. Okay, I am back, and I have 15 double crochet. I need one more. So yarn over, go in there. There's 16 double. So to end round 1, we're going to slip stitch to that very first double crochet. So I'm going to go right in there and slip stitch. Now we're going to chain 1 and fasten off. We're going to change color now. And you can see, and like I said in the intro, you don't have to change color. You can do the whole thing one color if you want to. But we're going to work, we just worked that center, and now what we're going to do is work the 2 rounds in the white. So, let me fasten off. And I'll weave in that end later. So I always pull it to the back, and then you can pull that center tail. You don't have to completely close that center, but just a little open like that. All right, so now we're going to get our next color, and mine happens to be white. I can't find the end. All right, I finally found it. Okay, so get a slip knot on your new color. Plenty of tail to weave in. And we are going to attach into any of the double crochets. It doesn't matter. Well, let's just go right back into the one that we slip stitched into. Go right back into that one. Right in there. And work a slip stitch. And then pull that tail to the back to tighten it. Okay, so we are going to work with, throughout this pattern is referred to as a beginner cluster, a beginning cluster, sorry, not beginner, a beginning cluster. So what that is we're going to start with a chain of 2. So 1, 2. And then we're going to go right back in there to finish the cluster. We're going to yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, 2 loops on our hook, 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3, and that's our beginning cluster. So throughout the pattern, the cluster consists of 3 partially started doubles, and then we close all 3 of them together at the top to create the cluster. The beginning cluster just starts with the chain because that's what gets us the height of the other doubles, or the other partial doubles, I should say. Okay, so we worked our beginning cluster. Now we are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Scooch that over, and we're going to go right back in there with the cluster. So you yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 4 loops, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops, and there is our cluster. So we've got our beginning cluster, chain 3, and then our cluster. So now what we're going to do is skip the next double. So if you can see, follow your post up, and then slightly to the right of the post of your double is the top of your double crochet. Or if you can't see it this way, turn it this way and look for the top of the next stitch, and that's what we're going to skip. So skip that one into this one. We're going to work a cluster, chain 3, cluster. So yarn over, skip, go into the next one, sorry. I went right ahead of that, and that's not what I meant to do. Sorry. Yarn over, skip, go into the next one. Go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 2 loops, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 3 loops, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4. And there's our cluster. So we chain 3 and go right back in there with another cluster. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. You got 3 loops. We need 4. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through all 4, and there is your cluster. So we have our next set, and for this pattern I'm going to refer to these as increases, cluster increases, meaning we have 2 clusters in 1 stitch. Okay, so now you're just going to skip the next and work the exact same thing we just did into the next. So you cluster increase into the next. So you yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Oops, I did not mean to do that. There you go. There's 3. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. There's 4. Yarn over, pull through 4. Chain 1, 2, 3. Go right back in there with another cluster. Go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. One more time, pull up a loop, pull yarn over, pull through 2. 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4. Okay, so I got a piece of something red right there. What I'm going to let you guys do is repeat what we're working the rest of the way around. So you skip, cluster increase, 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 and then we're going to skip the very last one, which is right there because we already worked into the slip stitched, the one that we slip stitched into. Okay? So again, all you have to do is yarn over, pull through 2 until you have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. Okay? So I'm going to let you guys work that around, and I will get mine done, and I will be right back. Alright, so I repeated that around. I need to skip the next and then work one more. So go ahead and work that cluster increase. There, and chain 1, 2, 3. Go back in there. 1, piece of cardboard. All right, 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4. And now what we're going to do is come right to the very first beginning cluster that we have, and we're going to slip stitch into the top. So if you look, you can see right here is a slip stitch. Here's the first chain, second chain, and right here the bigger top of the stitch, that's the top of the, that's the top of the beginning cluster. So right into there is where we're going to slip stitch. All right. Now just go ahead and put your hook straight into that chain 3 space, and we're going to slip stitch again. So what we're doing is moving ourselves to that chain 3 space. I need to turn my pattern page, my notepad page anyway. All right, so now back into the chain 3 space, we're going to work the beginning cluster, chain 3 cluster. So again, the beginning cluster is you just chain 2, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 3 loops on your hook this time, not 4. Yarn over, pull through all 3. And chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then go right back in there with a cluster. So I'm gonna assume you guys have a pretty good understanding of the cluster down now, just from working that round 1. I'll work it 1 or 2 more times for this round, and then after that, I think you guys should have it down pretty well. Let me get me some slack here. All right, so now we are going to chain 1, jump to that next chain 3 space, and now we're going to work the cluster increase. So it's cluster, chain 3, cluster. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Don't split it. I didn't mean to do that. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. Chain 1, 2, 3, and go right back in there with another cluster. Ooh, ooh, ooh. 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. Chain 1. And that's what you're going to repeat around. Chain 1 into the next chain 3 space, work the cluster increase, and that's cluster, chain 3, cluster. Chain 1, cluster increase into the next. Chain 1, cluster increase to the next. Work that all the way around, and I will meet you with this very last chain 3 space, okay? So I'm going to get mine done, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, I actually accidentally worked into that last chain 3 space. Sorry about that. But to end round 3, all we're going to do is chain 1, and again come to the top of your beginning cluster. So if you look right there, there's a little belt loop. There's your slip stitch, chain 1, 2. The larger top of the stitch, that's the top of your beginning cluster. Go right into there and slip stitch. Chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. I thought the construction guys across the street were done for lunch or something, but nope, no such luck. And if yours starts to bowl a little bit, don't worry about it, okay? That's going to come right out of that, I promise. All right, go back to your other color. Get a slip knot on your hook with plenty of tail to weave in. And into any chain 3 space, doesn't matter which one, whichever one you want to go into. Go into the chain 3 space. We're going to work our beginning cluster. So again, you just go in there, slip stitch, chain 1, 2, and I'm just going to pull that tail tight to the back. And then yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. I have no slack. Hold on just a moment. All right. Now we're going to yarn over, go back in there, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 3 loops on your hook this time, not 2, or 4, sorry. Yarn over, pull through all 4. Chain 1, 2, 3. And go right back in there with your cluster. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, pull through 2. There's 3 loops, we need 4. There's 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through all 4. All right, now we are going to chain 1. And into that little chain 1 space right there, we're going to work a single, chain 3, single. So go right into there, single, chain 1, 2, 3, scooch it over, go right back in there again with a single. Chain 1. Into the chain 3 space, we're going to work the cluster. So yarn over, the cluster increase, excuse me. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. There's 1 time, we need to do that 2 more times. There's 2 times, 3 loops, we need 4 loops. There's our 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1, 2, 3, go right back in there and work your cluster. Ah! 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4. And then into that, oh, I'm sorry, chain 1. and then into that chain 1 space, single, chain 1, 2, 3, come right back down in there and work a single, chain 1, and then you just repeat. Cluster increase, chain 1 into the chain 1 space, single, chain 3, single, chain 1, repeat that again. Cluster increase, chain 1, single, chain 3, single into the chain 1 space, chain 1 to get yourself back, or well, to get yourself to the next chain 3 space. Work the cluster increase, which again, just to reiterate, cluster, chain 3, cluster. All right? So you're going to repeat that around. Every chain 3 space is going to have the cluster increase with a chain 1. In the chain 1 space, work the single, chain 3, single. Chain 1 to get to the chain 3 space. Work your cluster increase. Chain 1, come down into that chain 1 space and work the single, chain 3, single. Okay? Repeat that around, and I will meet you at this last chain 1 space. All right, I'll be right back. All right, I repeated that around, and I have this one little chain 1 space. I worked my last cluster increase, chain 1, come down and single, chain 1, 2, 3, go right back down in there with a single, chain 1, and then we're going to come back up and slip stitch to the top of the beginning cluster. So again, right there, that little belt on the heart, there's our slip stitch. The little bitty heart right there, that's our first chain. There's our second chain. And right there, that's the top of our beginning cluster. So go right in there with the slip stitch, chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. And that is the end of round 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can see the bowl, like the bowling is what I'm trying to say, how it's wanting to bowl up like that, how it came right out of it. And if yours didn't, give it time, it will. It comes right out of it. Every time I've made this, it's done the same thing. All right, so let's get our other color. And we are going to attach into any of the chain 3 spaces. Make sure you got plenty of tail. Get on there. So into any of the chain 3 spaces, just grab one, attach your new color with the slip stitch, and we're going to work that beginning cluster again. So we start with the chain 2, and then yarn over, go in, pull through 2, yarn over, go in, pull through 2. 3 loops for the beginning cluster, yarn over, pull through 3. Chain 1, 2, 3, go right back in there with the cluster. 2 and 3. 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. Uh-oh. I'm working off of a cone, and it's a bit of a pain unless you set it on the floor next to you. Okay, so now we are going to chain 1, and then on each side of that single, chain 3, single, remember the chain 1 we worked here and the chain 1 we worked here? After you work your cluster increase, chain 1, and then come down here and we're going to work a double. Chain 2, come to this other chain 1 space and work a double. Chain 1, jump to that chain 3 space and work the cluster increase. Okay? And that is what you're going to work all the way around. Pull through all 4. Chain 1, 2, 3. Go right back in there with another cluster. Yarn over, pull through all 4. Chain 1. I have a cat hair. I like to get my fingers in that chain 1 space. We're going to come down, work a double, chain 2, jump to that other chain 1 space, work a double, chain 1, cluster increase into the chain 3 space. Pull through 4, chain 1, 2, 3, right back in there with another cluster. 2, 3, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops on your hook, chain 1. Get down in there and get your fingertips in the chain 1 spaces. Double crochet into the first one. Chain 2. Jump to that next chain 1 space and work a double. Chain 1, and then you're back to the chain 3 space to work your cluster increase. And that is what you repeat around. All right? So it's cluster increase, chain 1, double in the chain 1 space. Chain 2, jump right over, focus here please. Jump right over that chain 3 right there, double crochet into the chain 1 space. Chain 1, cluster increase. Repeat. Chain 1, double into the chain 1 space. Chain 2, double into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, cluster increase. Okay? So repeat that around, and I will meet you at the last 2 chain 1 spaces, all right? All right, I will get mine done off camera, and I will be right back. All right, so I've repeated that around. I've got my double, chain 2, come right back down in here, and double, chain 1, and then we're going to come over and slip stitch to the top of that beginning cluster. Right there. Chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. Okay, that is the end of round 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. All right, now we're going to start round 6. So I'm going to go back to my blue. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bump my phone. All right, get a slip knot on your hook. Make sure you got plenty of tail to weave in, and we are going to once again attach into any of the chain 3 spaces, doesn't matter which one. Just grab one, and we're going to go right in there with the beginning cluster. So just as we have been, attach with a slip stitch, chain 1, 2, and then work your beginning cluster. Remember, the beginning only has 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Chain 3, and then go right back in there with the cluster. 1, 2, and 3. 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 4. Let me move my yarn. All right. So now we are going to chain 1, and we're going to come right down to the top of that double crochet, and we're going to work a single crochet. Chain 1 into the chain 2 space. We're going to work the single, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then come right back down with a single. Chain 1, single crochet into the top of that double. Chain 1, jump to that chain 3 space, and we're going to work the cluster increase. So this round has a little more of a repeat, but it's still a pretty easy round. I keep splitting this yarn. What is it? There's 4. Pull through all 4. Chain 1, 2, 3. Go right back in there. Dang it. Go right back in there with your other cluster. Four loops, yarn over, pull through all 4, and then you start the repeat over. Chain 1, come down, single crochet into that double, chain 1 into the chain 2 space with a single, chain 3, single. 1, 2, 3, single, chain 1, double into the, or I'm sorry, single crochet into the double. Chain 1, jump to the chain 3 space and work your cluster increase. Four loops, yarn over, pull through all 4. Chain 1, 2, 3. Go right back in there. Four loops, yarn over, pull through all 4. Start the repeat again. I'm going to do it one more time with you guys. Chain 1, come down, single into that double, chain 1, single, chain 3, single into the chain 2 space, chain 1, single into that double, chain 1, jump to that chain 3 and work your cluster increase. And that's what we're going to repeat all the way around. And if it starts to bowl up again on you, don't worry about it because it'll come out of it once we work the last couple rounds, okay? So repeat that around. You've got your cluster increase, chain 1, single into that double, chain 1, single, chain 3, single into the chain 2 space, chain 1, single into that double, chain 1, cluster increase. Repeat it around. Okay? All right, I am going to get my round done and I will be right back. Okay, I am back and I've repeated that around and I've ended with the single crochet into my double, and now to get to the top of my beginning cluster, chain 1 and come over. Right there is the belt around my heart, so there's the slip stitch, first chain, second chain, top of the beginning cluster. So I'm going to go right in there and slip stitch, chain 1, pull up a loop and cut. All right, so that is the end of round 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, 2 more rounds, that's it. So for round 7, once again, we're going to do the same thing. Into any of the chain 3 spaces, we're going to attach with a slip stitch and then work that beginning cluster. Okay, make sure you got plenty of tail. So any chain 3 space, doesn't matter where, go right in there, slip stitch. I'm just going to pull that tail to the back, chain 1, 2, yarn over, go back in there, 1, go back in there again. Remember, beginning cluster only has 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 3, and then go back in there with the cluster. 2 and 3, 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops. Now we're going to chain 1, all right, we are going to skip the next chain 1 space right here, that single crochet, and we're going to come right to that next chain 1 space and we're going to work a double crochet. Chain 2, skip the single, chain 3, single, and right next to that single right there is another chain 1. We're going to go right into there with a double. So basically that single, chain 3, single, that is going to get outlined on each side with a double crochet into each of, the chain 1 space that's on each side of that. So it looks exactly like it did down here. The double crochets are kind of like outlining the single, chain 3, single. It's the same thing up here. The double crochets are kind of outlining that single, chain 3, single. Okay, so now we are going to chain 1 and jump right to that chain 3 space and work our cluster increase. 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 3, go right back in there with another cluster. 2 and 3, 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1, and now all you have to do is just come over and find your single, chain 3, single, and then just get your fingertips in those chain 1 spaces. Go into that first one with a double, chain 2, go into that next one with a double, chain 1, jump to that chain 3 space and work your cluster increase. Pull through all 4, chain 1, 2, 3, go right back in there with another cluster, 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4. And that is what you're going to repeat around. And this round is going to want to kind of bowl up a little bit on us, but it's perfectly fine. It'll come out of it once we give it a little tug. Okay? So you just, let me come over here. Work your cluster increase, chain 1. If you want to think of it this way, skip the next single, the next chain 1, the next single, double crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 2. Skip the single, chain 3, single, double crochet into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, skip that next single, chain 1, and go right into the chain 3 space with the cluster increase. Repeat that around. Or you can look at it as work your cluster increase, chain 1, find your 2 single crochets chain 1 spaces on each side of the single, chain 3, single, work a double into the first one, chain 3, double into the next one, chain 1, cluster increase into the chain 3 space. And that is it for round 7. And you just repeat that around, and I will meet you when I get to the end. All right, so I repeated that around. I worked my double, chain 2, double, chain 1, and I'm going to come right back to this beginning cluster. Right there is the bigger part at the top. Slip stitch right in there. Chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. All right, so you can see it's kind of bowled up a little bit, but that's perfectly fine. All right, we are on the last round, round 8. So once again, get your new color, slip knot on your hook, plenty of tail to weave in, and into any of the chain 3 spaces, we are going to attach with a slip stitch, pull that tail to the back, chain 2, and we're going to work the beginning cluster just like we always have. 3 loops this time, remember, not 4. All right, now we're going to chain 1, scooch that over, and we're going to go right back into that chain 3 space with a single, chain 3, 2, 3, go right back in there with a single, chain 1, and we're going to go right back into that same chain 3 space with a cluster. Four loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. So that is our beginning little set. This is what's going to create the decorative border around the edge. All right, we're going to chain 1, into the chain 1 space right there between the cluster and that double crochet, that little chain 1 space. We're going to work a single, chain 3, single. 1, 2, 3. Go back in there with a single. Chain 1, single crochet into that double, scoot over your single chain 3 single that you just worked, so if you need to, so you can see the top of that double. Go in there with a single. Chain 1, into the chain 2 space. We're going to work the single, chain 3, single, chain 1, single crochet into that double, chain 1, into the chain 1 space, single, chain 3, single, chain 1, and then we're back to that chain 3 space, and we're going to work the cluster, chain 1, single, chain 3, single, chain 1, cluster, all into that chain 3 space. So cluster, four loops, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1, get myself some slack, I think I'm just going to go ahead and stay with you guys throughout this entire last round, just because it is such a long repeat, and I'm just going to work it with you guys. Okay, so we got our cluster, chain 1, scoot that over a bit. I'm going to come down and single, chain 1, 2, 3, right back in there with a single, chain 1, and then go right back in there again with a cluster. 2 and 3, 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1, into the chain 1 space between the cluster and that double, work the single, chain 3, single, single, 1, 2, 3, go right back down in there, single, chain 1, scooch that over if you need to so you can see the top of that double, and single crochet into there. Okay, single into that double, chain 1, come down into the chain 2 space with a single, chain 3, single, chain 1, into the top of that double with a single, chain 1, into that chain 1 space, single, chain 3, single, chain 1, into the chain 3 space, we start over again with the cluster, I got a weird spot coming through my yarn. I don't know what on earth that is. Okay. 1, 2. All right, 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1, come down, single, chain 3, come back in there with a single, chain 1, go back in there with a cluster. Four loops, yarn over, pull through all 4. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to go a little faster, not much. Chain 1, come down, single, chain 3, single, chain 1, scooch over, single into the double, chain 1, single, chain 3, single into that chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, single, chain 1. I like those single crochets to be a little closer together. There we go. Single into that double, chain 1, get that tail out of the way, single, chain 3, single into the chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3, single, chain 1, jump to that chain 3 space, cluster, four loops, pull through all 4, chain 1, come down and single, chain 3, right back in there with a single, chain 1, and then go in there again with a cluster. 1, 2, 3. 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1, single, chain 3, single into the chain 1 space. 1, 1, 2, 3, and single, chain 1, single into the top of that double, chain 1, single, chain 3, single into the chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, single. Now get me some more slack. All right, chain 1, single into the top of the double crochet, chain 1, single, chain 3, single into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, back to the chain 3 space, cluster, 2, 3, 4 loops on your hook, pull through all 4, chain 1, single, chain 3, single, 1, 2, 3, back into the same chain 3 space, chain 1 and cluster, 1, 2, 3, 4 loops, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1, into the chain 1 space, single, chain 3, single, chain 1, double in, or single into the double, chain 1, single, chain 3, single, 1, 2, 3. I'm going a little bit faster, and of course that overlapped. there. All right, chain 1, single into that double, chain 1, single, chain 3, single, chain 1, and we're back to the chain 3. Whew! Now you can see how it's coming out of that bowl and starting to lay nice and flat. Okay, so I know I said I was going to stay with you guys to finish this, but I really think I'm being a little too repetitive, and I think you guys got it down pat. If not, just rewind it a little bit. Rewind this row a little bit. If you're on a phone or a tablet or an iPad, if you just double tap the left side of the screen, it'll rewind it 10 seconds, and yeah, you'll get the repeat down. So, to save you from me driving you nuts, I'm going to go ahead and finish this round off camera, okay? And so I'll get mine done, and I'll end at this little chain 1 space, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've repeated that around. I singled into that double, chain 1. I'm going to come down and single into the chain 1 space, chain 3, right back in there with a single, chain 1, and into the top of that beginning cluster. So if you see right there, see the little belt on the heart? That's a slip stitch. There's the first chain, there's the second chain, and there's the top of the beginning cluster. Go right in there. Slip stitch, chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. And you are done. Let me pull you guys out. There is your decorative wash rag, or you can use it as a hot pad. Or let me rephrase that, a trivet, not a hot pad. Don't take anything hot out of the oven with this. And there you go. Weave in your ends. Now I'll go through here and I'll get all these little single crochets together, which it's not like it matters. But that is it. So I've got this one I made out of size 3 crochet thread, and then I've got I think I'm a little more partial to the solid colors more than the stripe. Well, I should say variegated. It's not a very choppy variegated, but I think I like the solids better. Anyway, that is it. Thank you all so very, very much for watching. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't so you don't miss what's next. And like I said in the intro, this is just a quick thing I came up with so I could get a video out because of my little absence that I had. So, like I said, these will make cute washcloths, dishcloths, whatever you want to call them. And you can use them for little trivets. And that's it. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.